contribution on the estimate scrutiny for the Minister of Small Business. And just earlier in her reflections just now, she questioned the commitment from Tasmanian Labor to small businesses across Tasmania. And I can tell you that if the Minister sought to get out of her bubble of Hobart and actually engage with the small businesses across rural and regional Tasmania, she would find that there are no greater supporters of small businesses in Tasmania than the Tasmanian Labor Party. One of the issues that gets raised from businesses when I speak to them is that their desire for government to get out of the way. Businesses in Tasmania are often applauded by the government and others about being the engine room of the economy, and they create such a great contribution to the Tasmanian economy. Businesses do that on their own. They wake up, as the Minister said, in the morning, go to work each and every day. They employ Tasmanian families and make contributions to Tasmanian communities despite the efforts of this government. This government stand and announce all sorts of things to support businesses in Tasmania, but what we know is the government's disconnection from the needs of small businesses in Tasmania means that what they offer to small businesses often doesn't even match up with the needs. And we know that whether it be a micro business, a small business, a medium business, or in fact large businesses in Tasmania, the offers and the announcements of this Liberal government that are now in minority don't actually meet the needs of businesses. One of the exchanges that we had in the scrutiny session, and I might just add for the interest of people listening, where the government say small businesses are so important and they make such a significant contribution, they get 30 minutes of scrutiny in a week of estimates. 30 minutes of scrutiny. So within that 30 minutes, I probably got a collective period of time less than I have now in my feedback to the Minister. And one of the questions I asked was about the number of businesses that would be eligible for the energy relief, which has been committed by the federal government and a contribution made by the state government. There are about over 41,000 small businesses in Tasmania. There will be 35,000 businesses, by the Minister's own comments, eligible for energy relief in 2 quarters going forward in the next financial year, adding to a $650 contribution. Now, the Minister had some problems being able to clarify at estimates whether all of the 35,000 businesses that she said in this place welcomed the decision. And I sort of said, how did you know that they welcomed that, and what form did they do that? And I remember that one of the members across the chamber was also there, and she said, actually, I would really love if they had welcomed it. So again, misrepresenting the position of businesses in Tasmania, but she confirmed in the session that 35,000 businesses would be eligible for this energy relief, but then questioned whether they would actually receive it. Now, we know that this government has history in this area. One of the centrepiece announcements of the Premier's State of the State to support business was their energy hardship scheme. They made an announcement, opened it and closed it on the same day. I don't know if I can say this in the place, but actually what they did was stuff it up so badly that they had to wind back from their decision, and eventually, once they actually got a product out into the market, it was discovered in estimates this year that it only helped 10 businesses in Tasmania. 97% of the funds haven't been allocated. Now, based on that history and the record of this government, who can actually trust that the 35,000 businesses that they say are eligible for the $650 in the next financial year will actually receive it? On RecFit's website, it actually says that they will automatically get it if they're eligible. It will be expected to land in their bank accounts, but based on the history of this government, it will be remain to be seen. Now, the Minister, and I'm surprised, raised one of the other elements that I raised in my contribution about eel exporters in Tasmania. The thing that this government do, I've got 3 businesses to raise as an example here, but the eel exporters raised concern about conflict and competition in the market for something that they've been doing since the 60s in Tasmania, a multi-generational business that actually have government competing against them. I asked the Minister to look into that. She's raised it this afternoon as though it was interesting. I would be interested if she has actually done any work to understand that. Today in this place, I met with another business, a business that operates right across Tasmania, Phil from Aardvark Adventures, who up until recently was able to deliver an internationally iconic adventure experience in Tasmania on the face of the Gordon Dam. No longer able to do that because the government has withdrawn their support for that. But most seriously, I raised an issue directly with the Minister in regards to a business that operates out of my home electorate in Launceston. Cherie Jones operates a very credible, well-respected business that she's been operating for over 20 years out of Launceston. She supports a large number of people with her team. She actually has 11 Tasmanians employed. She's one of the largest business operators for supporting workplace rehabilitation in Tasmania. Across her workforce, they support 355 injured workers in Tasmania. There's been a change in accreditation requirements, which meant that a few years ago, herself and 2 of her staff out of her 11 team were given grandfathered exemption from some changes in order for them to continue to provide an incredible service that they have a great reputation for. But just recently they have had their accreditation revoked, and I raised this with the Minister, and I said that revoking would be effective from the 30th of June, and she made a commitment. This Minister made a commitment in estimates that the next week she would connect with Cherie. Now that was last week. Up until today, Cherie is still playing phone tag with the Minister. There hasn't been a commitment to do that, and you, Minister, in estimates said that you would, because this business will be impacted as of next week, and I would ask that you pick up the phone and that you speak with her. But you need to try more than once, and you need to connect with her, because this matter is serious, and the impact is that these changes of accreditations will require a small business in Tasmania to spend over $100,000 in order to satisfy a requirement that they actually currently have a grandfathering clause for, and actually take time out of their... If the Minister really understands how hard it is to operate a business in Tasmania, they will then have to go to full-time education on top of the workload that they're already doing to support over 355 Tasmanians, just to satisfy something that doesn't make any difference for the way that they operate their business, and will actually impact their ability to deliver these services into Tasmania. Now, this is a Tasmanian small business with such an incredible reputation that they are the largest in Tasmania, and they are competing against national companies. Now, if this government was serious about their support of Tasmanian small businesses, they would actually do whatever it took to pick up the phone and speak to this person, as they committed to do, to seek to get a resolution, because if this is not resolved by the end of the month, it will have a detrimental impact on this business in Tasmania, as an impact is happening on the eel exporters of Tasmania, as impact is happening on Phil at Aardvark Adventures. There is no doubt that one of the things that I hear, whether it be from industries of all sorts of sectors, and particularly even in my primary industry sector, where a lot of our fishers and farmers in Tasmania are also small businesses, they just say sometimes we'd love the government just to get out of the way. Some of the things that they do to actually say that they think they're helping us are actually impeding our ability to increase and deliver our productivity, and to increase and deliver our contributions to our small communities. So I implore this Minister, instead of standing up and speaking about the things that you think that you do, actually being able to get out of the bubble of Hobart, go and meet with small businesses, sit down and talk to them and find out what they really need, then you will know that businesses in rural and regional Tasmania, businesses that are holding up, from the examples that I've set here, international reputations that are used by tourism organisations and Brand Tasmania to represent and to advertise the incredible things that happen here, are being impeded by Tasmanian and by this government. People that have a trade opportunity and that have a generational business.
That have a listen to me. So. Order, please.
I've been quiet for quite a bit.
Thank you.
Businesses that have an incredible reputation, that for generations since the 60s have been trading out of something, a fishery from Tasmania in eels, are impacted by this business. Cherie Jones from this business that has been committed to by the government are being impacted by this business. So what I say today is, how is, with anything that this government say that they will do, that anyone can trust? We know that whether it be from the Premier, from the Treasurer or from the Minister for Small Businesses, this government speaks a big game. They say that they will do things. They make lots of announcements. As we heard earlier today, sometimes they make a new announcement to hide from the old announcement that they made that actually they couldn't quite deliver in a way that would work. You have the number, Minister. You said that you've called twice. If you have the number and you've called twice, how about you try harder? Because there is the eel exporters of Tasmania. If you punch it into your Google...
Thank you.
Through the chair. Minister Ogilvie.
Sorry, through the chair.
Eel exporters of Tasmania. How about you attempt to Google and then you go and visit them and you talk to them? Because the direct competition and market impact that you are having as a government is detrimental to their business, that might actually impact the next generation being able to take on what is an incredible
What
opportunity
name?
in Tasmania. If it's that complicated for this minister to understand how to
Who do you
use
want me to
Google,
talk
then
to?
that she shouldn't be the minister. We know she shouldn't be the minister for race, and we know that she shouldn't be the minister for cyber security. We know that she shouldn't be the minister for advanced manufacturing, and she
Members' time has
definitely shouldn't be the minister
expired.
for small business.
Member for Bass, Mr Wood.
Danny, I'll call them. Just tell me the name. You want the person
Not
you
that
want to call.
complicated, Minister.
Name.
Thank you,
Mr.
Chair.
Eel exporters of Tasmania.
The CEO? Who?
Order, please. No discussions
Tuck
across
it
the
into your
room.
phone right now. Give it a crack and see what you come up with. There's one outcome. There's one eel exporters of Tasmania.
Well, Chair,